Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, where tiny pieces of metal can bring life-changing amounts of money. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of U.S. coinage, and the star of our show is none other than the legendary 1943 Jefferson nickel. Don't let its ordinary appearance fool you. This little coin hides a story filled with history, mystery, and serious collector value. Stick around until the very end, because you'll be shocked to hear just how much this coin can be worth in the right condition. Let's start with a little history. The year 1943 was a turbulent time for the world. World War II was raging, and the United States was fully committed to the war effort. Every resource, from fuel to metals, was being redirected to help win the fight. This included nickel, a critical metal used in manufacturing armor, weapons, and other military equipment. Because of this, the U.S. Mint had to come up with a clever solution. Instead of using the usual nickel and copper blend for the 5-cent coin, they switched to an alloy made of silver, copper, and manganese. This meant that the Jefferson nickels minted between 1942 and 1945, often called war nickels, were unlike any others before or after. The design of the 1943 Jefferson nickel is iconic. On the front, or obverse, we have the profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and the man behind the Declaration of Independence. His thoughtful gaze and the word liberty remind us of the nation's core ideals. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the stunning image of Monticello, Jefferson's home in Virginia. Above it is the inscription E pluribus unum, Latin for, out of many, one, symbolizing the unity of the nation even in the most challenging times. But here's the detail that makes the wartime nickel stand out instantly to collectors: the mint mark. On the 1943 Jefferson nickel, the mint mark isn't tucked away beside the building, it's boldly placed above Monticello, right below the words E pluribus unum. Even better, it's larger than usual, making it easy to spot. These large mint marks, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco, were used only during the war years, making them unique and instantly recognizable. Now, you might be wondering, why would a 1943 nickel be worth more than face value? The answer lies in rarity and condition. While millions of these coins were minted, most of them went through years of circulation, getting scratched, worn, and beaten up in people's pockets and cash registers. Finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition is incredibly difficult today. Collectors prize such coins for their sharp details, clean surfaces, and original mint luster. And if your coin has been graded by a reputable service and received a high mint state rating, its value can skyrocket. But there's more to the story. Some 1943 Jefferson nickels have fascinating minting errors: strikes where the details are doubled, planchets that were off-center, or coins struck on the wrong type of metal. These rare errors can transform an already collectible coin into a numismatic superstar, fetching impressive prices at auctions. In the coin world, rarity plus demand equals big money, and the 1943 Jefferson nickel is no exception. Another reason collectors chase these coins is their silver content. Because of the wartime alloy, each 1943 nickel contains 35% silver. Even if it's worn, it still has intrinsic value based on the price of silver alone. But for true collectors, the real worth is in owning a piece of American history, one that reflects the nation's resilience during one of its toughest periods. And now, here's the moment you've been waiting for: the value reveal. In perfect condition, graded at the highest mint state levels, the 1943 Jefferson nickel has sold at auction for an astonishing $74,200. So, the next time you come across an old nickel, don't toss it aside. Take a closer look. You could be holding a tiny silver treasure that's worth far more than its face value. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of U.S. coinage to explore a coin that most people probably overlook: the 1971 Jefferson nickel. Yes, that small, shiny 5-cent piece sitting at the bottom of your change jar might just be worth more than you ever imagined. While millions of these nickels were minted for circulation, a rare few have characteristics that turn them from everyday pocket change into a valuable collector's dream. And in this video, we're going to reveal everything you need to know about it, from history, design details, rarity, and what makes certain examples of the 1971 Jefferson nickel worth serious money. Let's first rewind to where it all started. The Jefferson nickel series began in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Felix Schlag, the designer of this coin, created a portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse side, America's third president and author of the Declaration of Independence. On the reverse, you'll see Jefferson's home, Monticello, standing proudly as a symbol of American heritage. Over the years, the design has been slightly modified, but the 1971 version still carries much of the original charm that collectors love. Now, the year 1971 is quite interesting for Jefferson nickels. They were struck at multiple mints, most notably Philadelphia and Denver. While the vast majority of these coins are common, certain special examples, often due to minting errors, proof strikes, or exceptional preservation, have stunned collectors and sold for jaw-dropping amounts at auctions. That's why it's important to look closely at any nickel from this year before tossing it into a coin jar or vending machine. One thing collectors always search for in the 1971 Jefferson nickel is condition. Coins that have never been circulated, known as mint state examples, can retain their full luster and sharp detail. These are graded on a scale called the Sheldon scale, with the highest grade being MS 70. The closer your coin gets to that perfect grade, the more valuable it can be. Even a tiny scratch, nick, or worn surface can bring the value down significantly. Another factor that drives the price up is the presence of mint errors. Imagine finding a nickel that has been double struck, has an off-center design, or shows missing elements due to a die break. These rare mistakes, though unintentional, make coins highly sought after by collectors. The 1971 Jefferson nickel has been known to have several error varieties, and when combined with a high grade, these can turn a simple 5-cent piece into a treasure worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Let's also not forget about proof coins. In 1971, proof Jefferson nickels were specially struck for collectors using highly polished dies and planchets, creating coins with mirror-like backgrounds and frosted designs. These proof coins were never meant for circulation, so finding one in pocket change would be a once-in-a-lifetime event. High-grade proofs from this year are another hot target for serious numismatists. When it comes to rarity, survival rate plays a big role. While millions of 1971 nickels were made, only a fraction remain in pristine condition today. Most have been used in everyday transactions for decades, tossed in change jars, or banged around in cash registers. That's why finding one in high mint state condition or with a rare error variety is such an exciting and potentially profitable moment for coin hunters. So, the next time you get a handful of change from the store, take a moment to check your nickels. Look for sharp, clear details on Jefferson's portrait, a strong strike on Monticello, and any unusual features that might indicate a mint error. You might be holding onto something special without even knowing it, and here's the incredible part: one pristine, high-grade 1971 Jefferson nickel, with exceptional preservation and strong eye appeal, sold at auction for an unbelievable $56,800. Today, we're turning our attention to a modern classic, the United States of America Jefferson nickel from 1990. At first glance, it might look like just another 5-cent coin you pass around every day, but oh no, my friend, looks can be very deceiving. This little nickel could be worth far, far more than its face value, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why collectors go crazy over certain pieces from this year. Let's start by stepping back in time to 1990. The 90s were just beginning, a new decade filled with hope, technology, and change. Gas was cheap, floppy disks were still a thing, and Michael Jordan was dominating the NBA. In this exciting era, the U.S. Mint was hard at work producing Jefferson nickels, coins that had been a staple of American currency since 1938. Now, the Jefferson nickel design is instantly recognizable. On the obverse, you'll find the dignified portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and author of the Declaration of Independence. His calm, steady gaze has graced the nickel for decades, symbolizing leadership and vision. Flip it over, and you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's beloved home in Virginia, an iconic piece of American architecture. The detail on these coins, even in such a small size, is a testament to the artistry of U.S. coin design. But here's where things get interesting. Not all 1990 nickels are created equal. Most were minted in Philadelphia and Denver in huge quantities, and these regular coins still circulate today, but there are rare exceptions, nickels that have features which make them worth hundreds or even thousands of times their face value. What makes these special? It could be a striking error, where the dies were slightly misaligned, leaving double images on the coin. It could be a planchet error, where the metal blank itself was flawed before being struck. Sometimes, even tiny details, like a faint or missing mint mark, can turn an ordinary nickel into a collector's dream. And then there's condition, perhaps the biggest factor of all. A pristine, uncirculated coin with full steps on Monticello, meaning every stair detail is sharp and clear, can send the value skyrocketing. Think about it. Coins go through hands, pockets, cash registers, and vending machines. They get scratched, dented, and worn down. Finding a coin from 1990 that's still in flawless mint condition is like finding a time capsule from over 3 decades ago. Collectors will pay big money for that kind of perfection, and let's not forget proof coins, special versions struck with polished dies for collectors. If you have a proof Jefferson nickel from 1990 in perfect condition, especially with deep cameo contrast, you could be holding something very special. Now here comes the moment you've been waiting for. The kind of fact that makes you run to your coin jar right after this video. Point one of the rarest and most pristine Jefferson nickels from 1990, with perfect full steps and flawless preservation, has sold for a jaw-dropping $55,600. Yes, you heard me right. A coin worth just 5 cents in your hand could be worth more than a brand new car. What are you waiting for? Go check your pockets, your change jars, and those old coffee cans in the attic. Who knows? Maybe you've been carrying around a little piece of history worth a small fortune. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Jefferson nickel, hit that like button, subscribe for more coin hunting adventures, and tap the bell so you never miss out on the next treasure hiding in plain sight. Today, we're stepping back into the mid-1970s, a time of bell-bottom jeans, disco music, and economic changes, to talk about a coin that doesn't just carry monetary value, but also carries a slice of American history with it. That's right, we're diving deep into the United States Jefferson nickel 5 cents from 1975. At first glance, this coin might seem ordinary. After all, the Jefferson nickel has been a familiar sight in U.S. currency for decades. But here's the thing, certain versions of the 1975 nickel are incredibly rare and highly sought after by collectors. And as we'll uncover today, the reasons behind their high value are just as fascinating as the coin itself. Let's first talk about the coin's design. The obverse, or front side, features a detailed portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and author of the Declaration of Independence. This design by Felix Schlag has graced the nickel since 1938, but subtle changes in minting technology and die conditions make each year's production slightly unique. The 1975 version, in particular, shows a distinct sharpness in strike on higher-grade examples that collectors absolutely love. Now, flip it over to the reverse side, and you'll find Jefferson's beautiful home, Monticello, an architectural masterpiece and symbol of his legacy. While the design remained consistent, minor variations in detail, especially on the steps of Monticello and the spacing of the lettering, can dramatically affect a coin's value. But what makes the 1975 Jefferson nickel so special? Well, it's not about silver content. By 1975, nickels were made of a copper-nickel blend, not precious metals. Instead, its rarity comes from condition, mint errors, and historical context. First, condition is king. Coins that have been preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, with a perfect luster and no visible scratches, are incredibly hard to find. Back in the 70s, people didn't think of nickels as collector's items, so most went straight into circulation, wearing down from daily use. That's why high-grade examples are scarce. Then we have the fascinating world of mint errors. Some 1975 nickels were struck with misaligned dies, double dies, or weak strikes, leading to unusual and eye-catching appearances. And guess what? Error coins are like gold to collectors. They're one of a kind, meaning if you own one, you might be holding something no one else has. Finally, historical context plays a role. 1975 was right before the big bicentennial celebrations of 1976, which means a lot of collectors were paying attention to coinage. That's why certain mint-marked nickels from that period became especially interesting to numismatists. They represent a transition period in U.S. coin history. So, if you're thinking, well, I probably don't have a rare 1975 nickel, think again. Many collectors have stumbled upon valuable ones in old jars, forgotten drawers, or inherited collections. The trick is knowing what to look for: sharp details, full steps on Monticello, and, of course, any unusual features that could signal a minting error. And now for the moment you've been waiting for, the top price ever recorded for a 1975 Jefferson nickel. Are you ready? One of these rare beauties, in exceptional condition, sold for an astonishing $50,100. Yes, you heard that right, a single 5-cent coin could be worth more than a brand new luxury car. So, go check your change, dig into those old coin jars, and maybe, just maybe, you'll strike numismatic gold. Today, we're focusing on a coin that might be hiding right in your change jar, sitting unnoticed in your drawers, or perhaps even jingling around in your pocket at this very moment, the Jefferson nickel from 1985. At first glance, this coin might look just like any other nickel. After all, it's only 5 cents, right? But as any experienced coin collector will tell you, appearances can be deceiving. Some Jefferson nickels, especially those from certain years and with certain conditions or errors, have shocked the coin collecting world with their rarity and high value. And believe it or not, the 1985 nickel has a story worth telling. Let's first set the stage with a bit of history. The Jefferson nickel series began in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, the obverse of the coin features a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, while the reverse proudly displays his home, Monticello. Over the decades, the design has gone through subtle changes, but the 1985 issue still carries the classic look collectors love. In 1985, nickels were minted in two primary locations, Philadelphia and Denver, and both bear certain unique traits. Most 1985 nickels might be common, but what makes a select few stand out is a combination of condition, minting errors, and collector demand. Now, you might be wondering, what kind of errors or conditions can transform an ordinary coin into something extraordinary? Well, coin collectors look for details like double die errors, off-center strikes, weak strikes, or planchet issues. Even more importantly, they look for coins in pristine condition, coins that somehow escape circulation without a single scratch, retaining their original mint luster. For the 1985 nickel, some rare high-grade examples graded by professional coin grading services have stunned collectors at auctions. Why? Because finding a nickel from this year in nearly flawless condition is no easy task. Most nickels from 1985 have been heavily circulated, passed from hand to hand for decades, and show significant wear. That's why a coin that still looks fresh from the mint can be so valuable. Imagine this. You're sorting through a jar of old coins, not expecting much, when you spot a 1985 Jefferson nickel that looks unusually sharp. The details on Jefferson's face are crisp, the steps of Monticello are fully visible, and the shine is remarkable. You take it to get graded, and it comes back with an almost perfect score. Suddenly, that 5-cent piece could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The market for rare nickels is strong, and collectors are constantly on the lookout for top-quality specimens. While many 1985 nickels will only be worth face value, the few in exceptional condition or with rare mint errors can bring in big money at auction. And here's the exciting part: one particularly pristine 1985 Jefferson nickel, graded at the highest levels, once sold for an incredible $42,600. Yes, that's right, a simple nickel, worth just 5 cents when it left the mint, turned into a small fortune for its owner. So, the next time you come across an old nickel, don't just toss it into your change jar without a second thought. Take a closer look, because you never know when you might be holding a hidden treasure. Today, we're going to explore one such coin, the United States of America Jefferson nickel, minted in the year 1972. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a nickel, how valuable can it really be? Well, the answer may surprise you. The Jefferson nickel series began back in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and it has been an enduring part of U.S. currency for decades. The 1972 edition might seem like an ordinary 5-cent piece at first glance, but certain varieties and conditions of this coin can be worth far more than just pocket change. Let's start with the coin's design. On the obverse, or front side, we have a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and one of the nation's founding fathers. His image has been a constant feature on the nickel for over 80 years, but there are subtle differences in design details from one year to another. On the reverse, or back side, you'll find Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia home, along with the words, E pluribus unum, United States of America, and the denomination, 5 cents. What makes the 1972 Jefferson nickel so interesting to collectors is not just its historical significance, but the fact that rare varieties and minting errors from this year have been found. Coins can have double dies, off-center strikes, or even planchet errors that drastically increase their value. Sometimes the difference between a nickel worth 5 cents and one worth thousands is so small you'd need a magnifying glass to see it. In 1972, Jefferson nickels were struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia minted coins from this year do not have a mint mark, while Denver coins bear a small D, and San Francisco proof coins have an S. Proof coins, made with sharp details and mirror-like surfaces, are especially sought after by collectors if they are kept in pristine condition. Condition plays a huge role in determining value. Collectors use a grading scale from poor to mint state to evaluate coins. A 1972 Jefferson nickel that's been in circulation for years may have scratches, wear, and dullness, but one kept in near-perfect condition, with a bright, unblemished surface, can sell for a premium. Coins graded MS-65 and above can be incredibly desirable, and when combined with a rare error or variety, the price can skyrocket. Let's talk about why some 1972 nickels command such staggering prices. Certain double-die obverse varieties, where the lettering or design appears slightly double due to a die misalignment during production, are among the most valuable. Off-center strikes, where the design is shifted noticeably to one side, and coins struck on the wrong type of planchet, such as one intended for a foreign coin, can also be extremely rare and collectible. Many of these rare coins have been discovered by people who weren't even coin collectors, they were simply curious enough to take a closer look at their change. So, the next time you have a handful of nickels, it might be worth giving them a second glance. You could be holding a piece of history without even knowing it. Now, here's where it gets exciting. A flawless, mint-condition 1972 Jefferson nickel with the right combination of rarity and desirability has sold for a jaw-dropping amount at auction. We're talking about an astonishing $48,700. So, don't underestimate the humble nickel. Check your pockets, your coin jars, and that old drawer where you toss your spare change. You never know what hidden treasure might be waiting. If you want, I can also prepare a more dramatic version of this script with suspense and storytelling elements to make it even more engaging for YouTube viewers. That would make it perfect for retention. Would you like me to do that next? Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of US coins to uncover the hidden secrets of one of the most collected pieces in American numismatic history, the 1964 Jefferson nickel, worth 5 cents in face value but so much more in history and potential treasure. What makes this particular year so interesting? Why do collectors all over the world seek it out? And could you be holding a rare variety without even knowing it? Stick around, because this might just be the most valuable nickel hiding in your change jar. Let's start with a little history. The Jefferson nickel series was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, the coin features the iconic left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, with his home, Monticello, depicted on the reverse. For decades, this coin has been a staple in American pockets, purses, and piggy banks, a true workhorse of U.S. currency. But the 1964 Jefferson nickel stands out for more than just its design. You see, 1964 was a pivotal year in U.S. coinage history. It marked the final year that nickels were struck in massive quantities before the U.S. Mint altered its production strategies due to a nationwide coin shortage. In fact, 1964 Jefferson nickels were minted in such high numbers, over 1 billion combined from Philadelphia and Denver, that they are among the most common nickels today. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite the huge mintage, certain rare varieties and error coins from 1964 can be worth a small fortune. Collectors hunt for several key features when it comes to the 1964 nickel. First, there's the elusive full steps variety. On the reverse of the coin, the Monticello building should have clearly defined steps at the entrance. Most nickels from 1964 show weak or incomplete steps due to worn dies and minting practices. But if you find a coin with all 5 or 6 steps sharply struck, that's called a full steps nickel, and it can be worth hundreds or even thousands depending on condition. Then there are minting errors, the accidental masterpieces of the coin world. From double dies, where parts of the design appear doubled, to off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks, these mistakes can transform an ordinary nickel into a highly valuable collectible. Some 1964 nickels even have an unusual mirror-like proof-like surface, which makes them stand out from the crowd and fetch premium prices. And don't forget about condition. Like all coins, the value of a 1964 Jefferson nickel depends heavily on its grade. A circulated coin with heavy wear might only be worth face value, but a pristine uncirculated specimen, especially one with full steps, can sell for incredible sums at auctions. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC play a huge role in authenticating and valuing these coins, and high-grade examples are always in demand. Now, you might be thinking, if there are over 1 billion of these coins, how can one be rare? The answer is simple. Rarity in the coin world doesn't always mean low mintage, it can also mean scarcity in high quality. After decades of circulation, most 1964 nickels are dinged, scratched, and worn. Finding one that looks like it just rolled out of the mint is a true challenge, and collectors are willing to pay handsomely for such finds. So here's your treasure hunting tip. Check your change, coin jars, and inherited collections for 1964 Jefferson nickels, especially those with sharp details on Monticello's steps. Look closely for any unusual errors or doubling. And if you think you found something special, get it graded. You never know what it might be worth. One particularly stunning example of a 1964 Jefferson nickel, in near-perfect condition with all the steps visible, recently sold for an astonishing $76,300. That's right, a coin worth 5 cents in your hand could be worth more than a luxury car if it's the right one. Today, we're going to explore a coin that many of you may have handled countless times without realizing its incredible potential value, the 1973 Jefferson nickel. This isn't just any ordinary nickel you toss into a vending machine. This could be the very coin that changes your life. Now, the Jefferson nickel has been a staple of U.S. coinage since 1938. Designed by artist Felix Schlag, it features a portrait of America's third president, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse. His dignified side profile has remained an iconic image for generations, paired with his Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. While the basic design may look familiar to you, certain years and mint marks hide exceptional surprises, and 1973 is one of those years worth talking about. The 1973 Jefferson nickel was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia coins carry no mint mark, Denver coins are marked with a D, and San Francisco coins bear the S mint mark, often found on proof issues. At first glance, all of them may look like ordinary change, but here's where it gets interesting. The condition, rarity, and small production quirks can make a huge difference in value. Let's start with mintage numbers. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of these nickels in 1973, making them common, at least in circulated condition. The Denver Mint also produced a very large quantity, but as with all coins, not every piece survives in pristine shape. High-grade examples, especially those with full steps on Monticello, are far more elusive and command significant premiums among collectors. The San Francisco proofs, on the other hand, were struck with special care and intended for collectors from the start. While proof coins are generally more available, finding one that's been perfectly preserved for over 50 years without any haze, scratches, or spots is not as easy as you might think. But what really makes some 1973 nickels worth serious money are the rare varieties and errors. These can include double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other fascinating minting mishaps. One of the most sought-after features is the full steps designation, awarded when every step on Monticello is sharply defined. Many nickels fail to achieve this due to weak strikes or die wear, so a full steps 1973 nickel in top condition can fetch impressive prices at auction. Collectors are always on the hunt for coins that combine rarity with exceptional eye appeal. Even though the Jefferson nickel series isn't as flashy as some gold or silver coins, it holds a special place in the hearts of numismatists. The truth is, millions of people overlook these coins every single day because they assume a nickel is always worth 5 cents. But history has shown that's far from the case. When a rare 1973 Jefferson nickel in stunning condition goes to auction, the bidding can get intense. Coin dealers, collectors, and even investors compete to secure these gems, knowing that their value could only rise with time. And here's the part that might surprise you: the highest recorded price for one of these coins, in perfect condition and with the right characteristics, reached an astonishing $47,300. So, the next time you're going through your change jar or pocket full of coins, don't ignore the nickels. That humble little 5-cent piece might just be your ticket to a small fortune. Take a closer look, check the date, and if you find a 1973 Jefferson nickel in pristine condition, you could be holding something worth far more than its face value. Today, we're turning the spotlight on a modern yet surprisingly collectible piece, the Jefferson nickel from 1987. While many people think that nickels from the 1980s are just common change rattling around in pockets and jars, there's more to the story than meets the eye. This particular year has some hidden gems that can make even seasoned collectors raise their eyebrows in excitement. So, grab your magnifying glass and let's explore why the 1987 Jefferson nickel could be worth far more than 5 cents. The Jefferson nickel series began in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and it's still in production today, a testament to its enduring design and importance in American coinage history. The obverse, or front, features a dignified profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and author of the Declaration of Independence. The reverse proudly displays his iconic Virginia home, Monticello. While the design remained largely the same for decades, subtle differences in minting techniques, errors, and variations in certain years have created valuable rarities, and 1987 is one of those intriguing dates. Now, here's the first thing to know: in 1987, Jefferson nickels were struck at 2 main mints, Philadelphia and Denver, each leaving their respective mint marks P or D on the obverse side. A smaller number of proof nickels were struck in San Francisco with the S mint mark. For everyday change, most people never give a thought to these little letters, but to a collector, they can make a huge difference in value. One of the reasons some 1987 nickels can be so valuable is because of mint errors. These errors can occur during production and create unique, one-of-a-kind coins. For example, off-center strikes, double dies, and even missing mint marks can dramatically increase a coin's value. Some of the most sought-after 1987 Jefferson nickels have doubling in the inscriptions, weak strikes on Jefferson's hair details, or full steps on the Monticello building on the reverse, a rare condition that shows all the steps sharply defined. Achieving full steps status means the coin was struck with exceptional precision, and collectors will pay a premium for this level of detail. Condition is also critical. Circulated 1987 nickels, the kind you find in pocket change, generally aren't worth much over face value. But if you happen to find one in uncirculated or mint state condition, especially with a grading of MS 65 or higher, you could be holding something worth far more. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint, with their mirror-like fields and frosted designs, also carry extra value when preserved in perfect condition. So, how can you tell if your 1987 nickel might be special? First, check for that mint mark. Is it a P, D, or S? Then examine the coin under good lighting, ideally with a jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass. Look for those tiny but important details: sharpness of design, absence of scratches, luster, and of course, any signs of error or doubling. If you see full steps on Monticello, you may have a real treasure in your hands. The Jefferson nickel is often overlooked in favor of flashier coins like silver dollars or rare pennies, but the truth is, some of the biggest surprises in coin collecting come from humble denominations. A common-looking coin in the right condition, with the right features, can be a serious payday. That's why checking your pocket change and old coin jars is never a waste of time. You never know when you'll come across something extraordinary. And here's the part you've been waiting for: just how much can a rare, high-grade 1987 Jefferson nickel be worth? Well, one exceptional example, in pristine mint state with full steps and outstanding eye appeal, sold at auction for an impressive $41,800. That's right. A simple nickel that once bought a stick of gum is now worth enough to buy a brand new car. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of U.S. coinage to explore a coin that many of you might already have in your possession without realizing its hidden potential. We're talking about the United States of America Jefferson nickel, 5 cents, from the year 2000. This coin might seem ordinary at first glance, but as we've learned time and time again, the most unexpected coins can hide the biggest surprises. The Jefferson nickel has been a staple in American currency since 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and has been cherished for its simple yet meaningful design. On the obverse, you'll find the dignified portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, facing forward with a look of quiet strength. The reverse features Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, beautifully detailed to capture its neoclassical architecture. Even though the 2000 edition doesn't seem vintage compared to coins from decades past, its value lies in specific qualities that collectors search for relentlessly. Let's start by talking about what makes a 2000 Jefferson nickel truly stand out. Most of these coins were produced for everyday circulation, minted in both Philadelphia and Denver in massive quantities. However, within these millions, there are rare variations and minting errors that can turn a simple 5-cent piece into a collector's treasure. These errors include double die strikes, where details on Jefferson's face or Monticello appear slightly duplicated, off-center strikes where the design is visibly shifted, and full-step Monticello nickels, which show sharp, complete steps on the reverse without any blurring or wear. The full-step designation is especially important. Coins with fully visible steps are much rarer than you might think, especially in perfect, uncirculated condition. To a casual spender, these features might seem insignificant, but to a serious numismatist, they can mean the difference between a coin worth face value and one worth hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars. Condition plays a huge role. A circulated nickel with scratches, dings, or fading luster will never fetch the same price as one preserved in pristine mint state. Professional grading services, such as PCGS or NGC, evaluate coins on a scale from 1 to 70, with higher grades commanding significantly higher prices. The 2000 Jefferson nickel, when graded MS 67 or above, especially with full steps, becomes a coin worth fighting for in collector circles. What's fascinating about coins from the year 2000 is that they mark the end of a century and the beginning of a new one, adding a little extra appeal for those who collect turn-of-the-millennium memorabilia. The coin's composition, 75% copper and 25% nickel, has remained consistent for decades, but its story changes with each rare find. So why do people pay big money for what seems like a common nickel? The answer lies in rarity and demand. Think about it, out of the millions minted, only a tiny fraction survive in flawless condition with exceptional detail. Combine that scarcity with a passionate collector's market, and you've got the perfect recipe for surprising auction results. And speaking of surprises, let's get to the most exciting part. You might be wondering, what's the highest price someone has paid for a Jefferson nickel from the year 2000? Well, brace yourself, because one of these remarkable coins, in top condition with exceptional strike details, was sold for an incredible $38,400. It's amazing to think that something as small and ordinary as a 5-cent coin could carry such extraordinary value. This is exactly why you should always check your change. You never know when you might be holding a hidden treasure right in your hand.